Just
Eff
Eff It. Hi, I'm Romy,
Hi, and I'm Carla.
and together we are the
The
EFFing
EFFing
Madres.
Madres.
We are here to invite you guys into stories of some inspiring Madres.
Who have changed their lives through an Eff It moment. So here we go. Just Eff It. Good morning.
Hi, guys.
Happy
Good
Monday.
morning. Happy
Camaraderie
Monday.
Momondays. Motivation Mondays. Yeah.
I was going to let
I
you
don't
say
even
that.
know if it's any good, but I think it's cool. Whatever. I'll keep saying it. I feel like the girl from Mean Girls that's like trying to bring back
No, I like it a
whatever that
lot.
word is. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And they're like, you're not going to bring it back.
Yeah.
It's fetch.
I just dated myself.
That's okay. As far as Mean Girls go, I would like to say that we are the opposite and you can sit with us. Welcome to the Eff It Madres. It is Monday.
All right. So she's Romy. I'm Carla. We are the Eff It Madres. We have this community for madres, supporting madres through their Eff It moment. So it's those moments that are very life-changing for you and your family. And you can either have had it, are in the midst of it like we are, or want to have it. But we want to build this community of moms supporting moms through these moments because sometimes people just need that little motivation, and hearing stories from other moms and other madres that have taken that step can be what can push someone else to take that step. And so these moments are very important.
Well said. So who is our Monday Madre today?
So Corey is our madre today. I met her at an event, and I don't necessarily know what the backstory is from before her Eff It moment, but I just know that she had an Eff It moment that made her change her career to a executive functioning coach. So she guides and supports people through their moments of overwhelm, transition, and task paralysis. So curious to see how she got there, why she got there, how she was feeling when she was going through it. Just like how all these stories have been. These are important, processes. So,
Yeah.
all right, we're going to bring her in just a second.
All right.
We have Corey Whiteland joining us. And Corey, we've already brought people in real quick. So we're just going to jump right in with our first question. So when did you decide to just Eff it, and why?
Okay, so I decided to just F it in 2015. So it's been about 7 years ago. And the reason I made that jump, that leap, was because I was in a really toxic job. I was in a job where I was not showing up every day being the person I wanted to be. And I was not showing up as a colleague the way I wanted, as a family member, as a friend. And I just didn't like myself. I didn't like who I was. I didn't like who I was being around other people. And I think I was in such a state of overwhelm that my brain was kind of paralyzed in this fight, flight, or freeze. And I didn't know what to do. I was just so stuck. I was just kind of slugging through life. And one day, literally one Sunday afternoon, I was sitting on our backyard with my husband, and I don't even know what broke for me. I think I was a teacher, and it was towards the end of the school year, and this just idea that I'd gone another year feeling like this, and another year acting like this, and showing up like this, and thinking about I was going to have to do it again. And I just kind of broke down with him, and I said, I can't. I just don't know if I can do it anymore. And being the very kind, compassionate, empathetic person he was, he saw me and he heard me and he gave space for me, and we decided then and there that, it was gonna suck financially and it was gonna be hard, but that I was gonna quit.
How long had you been a teacher?
I've been a teacher for 17 years, my entire adult life. And even
Wow.
before that, I was kind of a teacher in high school and college. I taught swim lessons. Every volunteer job I had been in a school. Even in college, I worked at the preschool on campus. So it had been my identity my entire life. Even when I became a mom, I was still a teacher, right?
Right.
Corey, I was just going to say
Yeah.
that, like that. You took the words out of my mouth as you're speaking. I'm like, this is your identity. This is what you are. This is what you've known yourself to be. And
Yes.
and those epic moments when you're like, "This identity doesn't even work or fit or feel like me anymore. This is no longer what I'm identifying as." Which would bring me into the next question is, you've come to your husband, you're having this support, you're making this moment, so what did you do about it?
Yeah, so it was really scary. So I went literally the next day. It was like once that dam broke, I was like, I can't do it anymore. I'm done. I can't. And so I went the next morning to my principal and I quit. And I said, I'm going to finish out the school year, but I'm done. I had no plans. I had, and as a teacher, it's one of those jobs where it's kind of crazy because you have all these skill sets. You have
Mhm,
management skill sets, you have people skill sets, you have kind of therapy like skill sets. You have skill
mhm.
sets knowing about the law, yet they don't feel very marketable. Teachers are really
Mm.
kind of put in this pigeonhole of you're a teacher, you belong in education, you belong in the classroom. So I didn't even have this idea of what do I do next, but I just knew I needed to get out of there. So I quit. I told the people at my job I was leaving, and I finished the school year, packed my classroom up, and drove away from the school I'd been at.
And you had nothing set up. You had nothing planned
Nothing.
yet. It was just a
Nothing.
moment, just so I can understand, and the listeners,
Yes.
like, because I think we've all been in that place where this no longer, I'm not happy. I can identify with what you're saying. I know many can. But how terrifying as a mother and your family and everything to walk away without something there.
Yes. It was terrifying. It was very terrifying.
Well, that leads into the next question. How did having this effort moment make you feel? Just terrified and
All of the
all the
things. So
feels.
I
Yeah.
walked in and I just remember I was sweating. I could hardly get the words out. I was crying.
Yeah.
Then
Mm.
I told her and she was like, "Okay." And then I was elated. Then it was like my endorphins kicked in, my adrenaline kicked in. I'm like, "I am a badass. I did the thing." And then the school year ended and it was summer and I was like, "Oh, I don't have to plan." And then the day that I walked my kids to school, the following year, I was walking back and I just freaked out. I had a major anxiety panic attack
Mm,
because it was the first time in my entire life, adult life, I wasn't setting up a classroom. I wasn't, welcoming in this group of children, meeting the parents at the door, having that routine established that I'd had my whole life that kind of marked the years,
Mhm.
marked who I
Mhm.
was. And so it really didn't kind of hit me, the fear and the anxiety, until that next fall. And we knew we had about a 6-month like window where I didn't have to work. So as that was kind of clicking down, it got real. And
mhm.
I started to kind of romanticize my job and forget, kind of like when you have a bad breakup, right? And then like 6 months later, you're like, oh, he wasn't that bad. I should have put up with it. What was wrong with me? I started to do that about this bad breakup. And then the other thing that was really hard is that those were my people. Everyone at
Mhm.
that school, like, I mean, you spend all your time together. Those were my people, and I wasn't part of that community anymore. And that was another really challenging, wave for me to kind of ride in and out because it was all of a sudden I didn't really have my friends. I didn't have the people to talk to at lunch and at the coffee and after school, and it felt very kind of scary and isolating for quite
Gonna
a bit.
say probably kind of lonely to
Yeah.
lose that. It's lonely when you walk away from that because that's your everyday. Those are the people you've been with every day throughout the entire school year, and then what do you do without that 10 hours of your day, where they're not there anymore and you're in the midst of figuring out where you should go. I, I
Yeah.
I'm just like, how did you get to then where you're at now? Because I'd like to know, now you're in this kind
Mhm.
of lonely space. So, how did you get to this place?
Yeah. Well, first we got a puppy because I needed someone to hang out with me at home. So that was helpful. And then I just started to reach out to people and just try to pivot who I was and my marketing skills and what I had to offer, and I knew that I had a lot to come with, and I knew what I wanted now out of a job, and I started to really work on myself. I At that job, I was really caught up with being pretty judgmental, very
Mm.
gossipy, kind of caught up in some really toxic relationships. And I knew that that's not what I wanted as I moved forward. So I did some real tough work on myself and how I contributed to that. How did I show up in that space? um, who was I at the time and who did I want to be? And started to reach out to people who I knew worked in spaces that would welcome that new me and would support that new me and would contribute to my growth in that way. And I was really fortunate enough to have two things kind of grow that year. And the first one was I got offered a job consulting, educationally consulting. So and I still do that. And I'm able to go into schools that need support. So the schools that I work in are all Title I, low income schools, high English language population, and they're places that need a lot of compassion and need a lot of support in how we show up for these kids, how we engage the kids, how we build upon their funds of knowledge and what they bring to try to close that education gap that is so prevalent in our country. So that really fit my soul in that way, and I
And
still do
still
that.
aligned with, like, your community and what you do and what you love. It's almost sometimes like we have to, like, we wanna be in our world, but we need a different place in our world.
Mhm. Yeah.
Exactly, that's such a good way to put it. It's I didn't wanna leave, like, the atmosphere, right? But
No, yeah.
I I was done in my particular city. I like
Mhm.
that way, and I've been able to create these amazing partnerships with some school districts that I still work with, teachers that I still love, that I work with and I support. And then I also, at my job, I'd been really interested in mindfulness and I had been trained to be a mindfulness facilitator.
For those, that everyone's like me going, "What is that?" Can you just tell
Yeah.
me what that is really quick?
Yeah. So mindfulness is this practice of being present. And it really encompasses so many things. So, meditation is part of mindfulness, but it's also about self compassion, compassion to others, gratitude, really paying attention to the here and now. So, it supports anxiety, it supports stress reduction, it supports relationships, and there's so what I love about it is I'm a total brain nerd. I was a cognitive science major, and there's so much brain research that goes into understanding why being more present, being more compassionate towards ourselves and others, noticing the small things, being aware of our thoughts, how that supports so much of our mental health and our mental wellness.
Mm,
So
I
I was
love that.
able to do
Thank you.
that for yes, no, thank you for the question. So I was able to do both of those things. I went trugging along, and like a lot of people, 2020 hit, and all of a sudden, right? Nope, no
Yep.
schools really needed somebody to go in because there were no schools. And even
Mhm.
online, people were just surviving, especially educators and kids and students, and especially in the populations that I work with. It was really about survival, getting through the day, not about having a consultant come in and tell you what you were doing wrong or right or how to change. And mindfulness is really hard to do virtually. And
Yeah. Yeah.
again, people were just trying to survive, right? They weren't like, "Oh, I'd love to do a virtual retreat." They were like, "How do I get through the day without killing my family?" Or, "Where do I find toilet paper?" Right? It wasn't about so both of those things went away one day, like so many people, right? I was in company with most folks. And again, so I kind of had like another effort moment, like a little mini effort moment. But this effort moment was like thrust upon me, and I was like, "What do I do now?" And so I was really had to change my mindset and make a shift. I think we're all so like sick of hearing like I had to pivot, right? But that's what I had to
But you
do.
did.
I had to
Yeah,
pivot,
we all do. We all
and
did it.
yeah, exactly. And I became certified as an executive functioning coach. And so I was able to marry this mindfulness and this paying attention to the present and kind of the woo woo aspect of what I love, and the education background that I had and the special ed background that I had of understanding how brains work, understanding how neurodiverse brains work. So ADHD, autism, anxiety, dyslexia, and I became a certified executive functioning coach. And again, just kind of tried to ride that wave and build that practice. And I look back now and I think, oh my goodness, if you would have told me that May Day in 2015, that 7 years later, I would be trying to build an executive coaching business, I would have, first of all, I don't even think I would have known that that was. I would have been like, I don't even know what that is. And
Hmm.
second of all, I don't think I liked myself enough or showed up for myself enough or had enough faith in myself that I would even think that I would be able to make those steps.
I think
Yeah.
you make a really valid point, which is like the faith in yourself, because I think that's what holds so many of us back. It's we can't imagine fast forward to something new and bigger that we're evolved into because we don't have that faith in ourselves. I know that for myself and certain things that we're doing. It's like find like I can do that. I can do this, and you don't see it. But how inspiring, and I'm so glad that like all the moms listening can like you didn't even know what you were gonna do. And here you are into like marrying two of your new professions into one, to then find where you land. And all by listening, which we've talked about so much on this podcast, is all by listening to that little voice in you that's saying, this isn't making me happy. This isn't where I want to be. I don't know what tomorrow looks like, but I'm walking away. I mean, to everyone
Yeah.
listening, this is an inspiring story. And then you did one coaching and then you did another coaching and now you married the both of them. And that's beautiful, which would lead me into the question of like, what did this do for your family by doing this? How did this change everything for you guys?
I mean, it's kind of cliche or hyperbolic, but I can't imagine if I didn't make the choice that I made when I made it, where my family would be, or the relationships I'd have with my kids or my husband. That gift of that year where I wasn't really working was so phenomenal, and I will never, ever, ever take it for granted. I got to be with my kids before school. I'd never been able to do that ever. I got to be with my kids after school. I'd never been able to do that ever. My oldest was going into middle school at the time. I got to be with her at that middle school transition while my youngest, I have three kids, my youngest was starting preschool. I got to walk them to preschool every single day and pick them up in the middle of the day. I was like, who gets to pick up their kid in the middle of the day? Like, how lucky am I? How blessed am I? And
Yes.
ever since then, you know what? I think the biggest thing that has changed in our family, it's not even the work. It's really how I am as a family member, how I am as a parent and I am as a spouse, because I was not a very nice parent. I was always rushed. I was always feeling yucky, and so I took it out on them. I didn't even know why. My inner critic was a huge jerk and just telling me every day how bad I was doing at everything. And I listened and I reacted in a way that I think about all the times that I reacted in a way that I'm not proud of. And as a spouse, I was I was grumpy, I was distant. I again just wasn't the person that I wanted to be. So, regardless of what I do now as a job or how I work outside of my home, this idea of putting myself and trying to build that self-compassion in myself and treating myself as I do all the people I love in my life has changed drastically my relationship with my family members. And I I hope that I'm also modeling that for my kids. Modeling the sense of it's never too late to change. It's never too late to say I'm sorry. It's never too late to repair a relationship or repair a situation, and that you can do it, right? That you can. And I think that is one of the biggest things that has changed with my family and with myself as a parent, for sure.
Yeah, it's I can totally relate to what you're saying because I myself worked for other people for so long, and I got to that breaking point where I was like, I can't fucking do this anymore. Like, I
Mhm.
need to do me, and I need to do it the way I want to do it. And like, I could have never been able to spend as much time with my daughter the way that I did had I stayed doing what I was doing. So like, taking your life into your own hands and like calling the shots is like the biggest fucking amazing thing ever. So
Yeah, it's like
congratulations
the
to
biggest
you.
flex, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is. It really is. So I'm so happy that you had that. I'm curious to know, like, do you have fears that come up for you since you so it's been how long now that you're the an executive functioning coach?
2 years now.
2
2
years.
years.
Okay. So
Mhm.
you're new in it. How are there any fears that come up for you? And the next leg to that is how do you keep moving forward and not letting those fears hold you back?
Every single day. I mean, we all have that inner critic, right?
Yeah.
I had
Yeah.
a teacher that called it our itty bitty shitty committee, which I loved. Like,
That's
right?
funny.
Like it's just this little shitty committee that all day long is like, you're doing that wrong. You suck. Why are you even trying? And we all have it, right? So
Yeah.
every single day I have fears. I have fears I'm going to fail. I have fears people are going to think I'm stupid. I have fears that I'm going to show up on Instagram with a typo, which I do almost every day. I have all the fears,
Yeah. Major imposter
all of the
syndrome,
fears.
right? Yeah.
Yes. And
Yeah.
and so I think that is where I'm so grateful for my mindfulness practice because before I had that, when I was at that job and that critic, that, little bitty shitty committee was my inner voice all day long, every day. I believed everything it said. I took it to heart. I embodied it. And then what did I do? I just like was this like, ugh, like I was just this yucky vibes energy. And so with mindfulness, I've really learned to separate my thoughts from facts. So when
Mm.
that thought comes in and it's like, you are going to fail, Corey, you suck. Why would you even think anybody would want to hire you? I'm able to take a pause and I'm able to think to myself, what part of that are facts and what part of that is that committee trying to derail me, trying to,
Mhm.
I talk to my daughters about like it's the mean girls, right? Why are those mean girls showing up? And so,
We're
Okay,
laughing
Corey,
because
so
we
before you came
literally
on,
yeah.
yeah, we were
we
just talking about Mean Girls, like as we were
you
introducing you
were.
into it, and you just said that, which is so funny because we were like, "You can sit with us," and then Carla's got the word mamadery, and she's like, "We're trying to bring it back," and then you
Like how
just
in the
said
movie
that.
Stop
Mean
making
Girls, they
Madre happen.
Yeah,
yeah. That's so funny. Oh my god, what a
I
coincidence.
know.
Okay.
Oh my gosh, it is, right? So the Regina Georges and our
yeah.
brains
Yes.
are like super
Yeah.
loud. And so what I'm able to do now, not all the time because I'm still a human, but I'm able to separate the fact from the thought. And I tell myself that's not a thought. I mean that's not a fact, that's a thought. And the fact is I have gotten clients. Or the fact is
Mhm,
I have had typos on Instagram and someone points it out and I fix it. Or the thought
mhm.
is I am qualified and I am able to show up for people in a way that's going to be helpful. So I'm able to reframe those thoughts into more helpful supportive thoughts and try really hard to believe them. And that's all we can do is try.
Yep.
I
Yeah.
don't know if either of you guys or anyone listening has seen the documentary, What the Bleep. I bring this up because it's about quantum physics, but if you're interested in this stuff at all, because I'm fascinated by it, it's a wonderful documentary. And it basically is about what you speak into yourself, you become. And they did a science project, which I feel like you'd appreciate, where they put a bunch of
Yes.
negative things into the water. And once they like examined it, it was like this ugly, disgusting thing. And then they put all these positive things into the water and it made like snowflakes almost. It was like this of like what we're made of and what the words are that we put. It's fascinating.
Yeah.
So
So
you're
cool.
saying that, and I'm just thinking about that. And it talked about they had this woman write positive words like all over her body, to put that into you.
Mhm.
So that itty bitty shitty committee, which I'm absolutely stealing. That's like the best thing
Please
I
do.
got. Like, thank you. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I'm used to the itty bitty titty committee with like all my lesbians, but this is the itty bitty titty shitty committee, which is totally perfect for us moms, because that's
And
all
a
we
very
do.
different committee, a
On-
very different committee. Not the same.
Very different.
Same but different, okay? But those positive words when that shitty committee comes in is just reminding yourself. And that's how you do move through those moments, is that they're lies.
Yes.
And
Why
you
is
are
it
what
that
you speak into yourself.
Yeah, why is it that we're so the hardest on ourselves? Like it's really the it is the shittiest
Is
thing.
that
Like
Mhm.
we really are that
So
no one
true.
else is going to be as hard on us as we are on ourselves. It's just sad.
No,
We need to change
and
that.
we're never as hard on other people as we are on ourselves,
no.
right?
No. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like there's something that I have clients do sometimes when they're really struggling, and I have them think about a time when they were struggling with something or they made a mistake, and I have them write down what they said to themselves. Then I have them kind of take some breaths, erase that, and then think about a time when their friend was struggling or their loved one or their kid and what they said to their kid or their loved one or their best friend. And then, okay, what is the difference? And it is
Yeah.
such a powerful exercise. I anybody listening, I suggest you do it, but make sure you're like in a place where you can have the feels, right? Because
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
really powerful when you see it written down next to each other. Like, "Oh, wow, I'm really mean to myself. I am not
Yeah.
kind." And so mindfulness is that awareness of when that happens, because we first have to be aware before we can make any, right? Like going back to me leaving the job. I first had to be aware that I felt like shit before I could even try
Yeah.
to leave, right? And so it's
Mhm.
about that awareness, and then when that awareness comes, then we can make the choice. Wait, am I gonna let Regina George talk, or am I gonna, bring in this kind, compassionate, whoever that is to you person and let them kind of take over.
So is that how you stay in the effort momentum moving forward, is just going back to your mindfulness practices?
100%.
Yeah.
And it is the roller coaster, right? There's days where I'm
Right.
like, I am a badass. Look at me.
Exactly.
I made a Canva and right. And then there's other days where I'm like, what is happening? Who am I? What is going on?
I think that's so important to share though, because so many of us are like, we have those days. And even once we've had our effort moments, and even once we've established some beautiful change, it doesn't take away that you're going to have those days where you're like, I'm such a fucking badass. I did this, this, this,
Yeah.
this. I got all this done today. I like killed it in my job. I knew that this was what, and then those days that you're like on the floor, like, I don't know what I'm doing, you
Yeah.
know?
Yes.
And it's going to
Yes.
happen forever. It's just,
Yeah.
making sure that, like
Forever.
you said, like you're finding that silence to keep moving through it, because I don't want anyone listening to think, well, these moms had these effort moments and they changed their life and then their lives were just beautiful. No, I mean, they were beautifully
No.
changed, but still the struggle of the
Mhm.
self-talk and what you're worthy of next is a forever, I feel, battle that we
Yes.
as women, as mothers, live
Yeah.
with.
Yeah. I was
Mhm.
talking to a friend yesterday on a walk about that, and she was like, "Why do we keep like I need to go to the doctor?" She's like, "Why do you keep not going to the doctor?" She needs to do some personal stuff. She's like, "I keep not doing it." I'm like, "Because we're human and
Mhm.
it's for life. We're gonna be making struggles and changes and growth, and every time there's a transition, right? Like I have a senior who's about to leave next year, and I'm like, I know that's going to be a whole different growth cycle, right? It's all We're never done. So you're going to have a
No.
million effort moments in your life, right? Because you're never done.
Mhm. Yeah,
Never.
you
And if
really
you're
are.
not evolving and you're not having more effort moments, then there's something really big to look at. You're stagnant. You're not growing in this life. You're not taking on new things, which would lead to my question now, my last question for you, which would be, what advice would you give to a mom and going through this, wanting to have one, going through this? Like, what's your advice to women listening?
So I think the most important advice would be, if you're ready to make that step, right? You're ready to jump off that diving board or whatever it is, to get very clear and physically write it down, put it somewhere where you see it every day, your why. Why are you making this change? What is it about this change that is so important to you, that is empowering, that is meaningful enough that you're willing to F it, whatever it is.
Mhm.
And put that somewhere, because there's going to be times where you're overwhelmed. There's going to be times where you're going to second guess it. There's going to be times, like I said, where you're going to romanticize what it was before. And
Mhm.
so having something that you can always go back to, your why, I think is essential. And the other thing I would say is finding a community that's going to support you. Doing it in isolation is incredibly difficult. And that's what I tried to do. And it was really, really hard. So if you don't have a physical community, get online, find a virtual community, join, a local group, something where you can have people that not only are going to know what you're going through and support you, but also have your back and keep you
Mhm.
accountable. Because if you don't
Yeah.
have people that are going to hold you accountable, it's so easy to kind of fall back in those old patterns or fall back in that old mindset or that old way of thinking. So I think, yeah, finding your why, holding on to your why and remembering it when times are hard, and finding your people that are
I love
gonna keep
that.
you on track.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that so much. And I think it's even important, like to me, it's like I'm going through some of mine now, but to put it like I have some quotes, like Bible quotes on my mirror, but like almost putting your
Yeah,
why up on your mirror in the morning so that you remember like every day, like this is why. This is why we're doing this. This is why we're in this, just a reminder.
yeah,
So you don't forget. So
yep.
you don't romanticize what the old life might have been like, and you
Mhm.
stay in
God,
it and you
people
stay
really
focused.
do that, don't they? Like, I mean, I've done it too,
Yeah.
romanticizing, like, oh, really
Yeah.
wasn't that bad. It's just like, oh
It
God.
was.
Yeah,
Yeah, it really was. It really, really
exactly.
was not good. Yeah. So we
Yeah.
have to stop doing that.
Yeah, so maybe even writing that down too, writing about
Yeah.
why it was crappy and putting that up next to it.
Yeah.
So you're like, "This is the why, and this is why it was crappy. Don't forget," right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
Corey, I just love your F it moment. I think it's so inspiring to so many of us, including myself, just trying to figure out where we fit and where we're happiest and what when these changes happen, like how we show up for our children so much better as mothers. Like I just appreciate you taking the time. Are there any links or your Instagram, everything that you can share for people to reach out and follow you?
Yes, for sure. So I'm Whiteland Coaching Services, WIGHTLIN Coaching Services. I have a website that's whitelandcoachingservices.com. My Instagram is Whiteland Coaching Services, and I'm always putting tips and strategies and tools on Instagram with some typos. So follow me. I would love to answer any questions, or if there's any support I can give folks along the way, because like I said, we're all going through these transitions, right?
Yeah.
Life is constantly changing, and
Mhm.
having support and having a community and having someone that can guide you along can be invaluable.
Yeah. We're not alone in this, guys. We're all going through it. So find
Yes.
that
Yes,
community.
for sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
Well,
for
thank you
sure.
so much, Corey. That was a really amazing story. And yes, like the fact that
Yeah.
you were just able to do it and trust the universe, which I'm all about. Um, it
Yes.
was really amazing and it's worked out for you. So very, very
Yes,
happy
thank
that
you
we
both
had you on.
so much for having me. I'm so appreciative
Yeah.
of what you are bringing to moms, and you're creating this own amazing community where people get to show up and be a part of it. So thank you. Thank you so much for letting me
Oh,
be a little small part of your little world here. I really
aw.
appreciate it.
Well,
We
thank you.
really appreciate your
That means
words.
a
Yeah,
lot.
thank you.
Yeah.
That means
Thank
a
you
lot
so
to us.
much. And yes, welcome to the
Sure.
Effet Madre
Yes,
community.
the mamadre. How do you
Yay!
say it, Carla?
The camaraderie. It's camaraderie, but
Mamadre.
camaraderie. I'm really trying to bring it back.
Oh, I
Or I'm
get
really
it
trying to make it a thing.
now.
Right? Does it make sense, Corey? It makes sense, right?
I feel like I needed to see a visual. Like you need a shirt
Yeah,
Right.
or a
Right.
hat.
yeah,
Right.
we do.
Yeah,
We do need a shirt. I think we need a shirt, Carla.
need
Yeah.
a shirt.
Yeah. Mom
I'll
camaraderie
buy that
and
Ah,
merch.
camaraderie.
I'm all over it.
okay,
Yeah.
you'll buy the merch. All right, this is
All
the
right.
end, Corey, when all of us are just going to have a moment to say, just
Just
Just F
F
it.
F it.
it.